Hello everyone, I'm Mrs. Midnight and I welcome you to the second part of the guide to win at the event full marks in Hogwarts Mystery. In the first part, we were speaking about the basics of the event, but now that we know them, it's time to talk about how to proceed to apply everything we've learned, and about the things we can do to optimize our processes and make the most out of the time we have. Are you ready, guys? Cause here you have the very effective all-to-none brief, Mrs. Midnight Guide to win full marks.
Take me through the plan again. Step 1.
First thing we need to do as we receive our board is to define whether we will aim to form the triple pattern or the spell one. Ideally, we should go for the one that gives more points, but since the difference will never be higher than 40, if the highest one is too hard to do, it could be better to go for the other.
Step 2.
Next, we need to make sure we'll be able to finish as many boards as possible in the time we have. And for this, the goal will be for no board to take more than 2 days to complete. For this, we have to take a look at the squares we need to complete the triple pattern or the spell one, depending on which one we decided to go for. The objective of this review is to determine whether the tasks we need to do are doable or not.
Step 3.
After reviewing, if among the tasks we need to complete in order to form the pattern there is one that does not look doable before 2 days, we can modify it by clicking on the square and then clicking on the 2 curvy arrows at the top right edge. This will allow us to use gems to change that task for a different one. Something you should take into account is that this costs you 5 gems, and it always comes with the risk of getting something even worse. And if you wanna change it after that, now it will cost you 15. So I'll help you by leaving you some criteria to decide wisely whether to change the square is worth the gems or not. How much extra time will it take me to finish? If it can delay you up to half a day or more, I strongly advise to change it. But if it will only delay you a couple hours, maybe it would be wiser to save your gems for when they are more needed. How important is it? If you need it to complete the pattern, it will most likely be worth it to change it. But if we're talking about an extra square that's independent from the pattern and that will only be giving you a couple extra points, you better save your gems. Regardless of the time, how impossible is it to do? For example, if you have to earn 15 stars in a class, this takes long, but it's possible to do. Unlike having to complete 15 minigames successfully, because this can fail due to touch responsiveness. And now, I'll give you my list of doable and undoable tasks, along with the ones that can be doable depending on the circumstances, so you can wisely decide how to spend your gems. Doable. Getting up to 15 stars in a class. It takes between 3 to 5 hours to complete the 5-star classes due to the time it takes the energy to refill, so between a day and 2, it's possible to complete this task. Complete up to 8 minigames successfully. This gives you an error range that allows you to fail up to twice. Remember that in this case you do not only fail due to your ability, but also due to touch responsiveness. Play up to 3 games of Quidditch or complete up to 9 maneuvers. Every game has 3 maneuvers and it's not so easy to fail them. Not to mention that once you finish, after 7 hours you'll be able to play again, making it possible to play up to thrice a day. Obtaining energy from up to 30 points of the castle. Assuming that you have at least 12 unlocked, it will take you less than 2 days to complete this task. Obtaining up to 6 diamonds in a specific interaction or in any interaction. The maximum waiting time is 16 hours, so as long as you earn the 3 possible diamonds, in less than 2 days you'll be able to play twice and get everything you need. Make sure to match or if possible to exceed the attribute points they ask you for, because this will help you giving extra diamonds in case you answer wrong. Obtaining all the stars in a class. The maximum times they ask you to do this is 5. So you can finish this quest in less than 2 days, as long as you only pick the short classes of 2 stars that last for an hour and consume about 37 energy points. This way, your energy will start replenishing and in less than 3 hours you'll be able to complete a new class. Earning house or club points. The truth is that this happens by itself as you complete classes, play Quidditch, or have duels. But if you would like a guide on where to get points for each specific club, let me know in the comments. Obtaining energy from a specific point of the castle. Normally they will ask you to do this once or twice, so it's more than possible to do it in less than 2 days. Only in Pip's case they ask you to do it thrice, but since he replenishes relatively fast, it's also possible to finish in that time. Feeding your fantastic creatures. They ask you to give them from 2 to 10 units of food, and you can give them up to 3 every time. So taking into account that once you've fed them you have to wait 7 hours to do it again, even if you only have 1 creature in the reserve, it's possible to feed them 4 times in less than 2 days. Getting food for creatures. The most they will ask you to get are 10 units, and there are a lot of ways to find them. By completing minigames in classes, by feeding your creatures with maximized level, or once a day you can go to the reserve and click on the video ads to get to units. You can also get food by going to the hallway, but I do not recommend it for this event because it takes 3 hours. Undoable. Earning 16 stars or more in a class. Having to complete a 4th class, even if it's short, will increase the time it takes you to finish. And the worst inconvenience of this is that by that time you surely will have completed all the other squares it takes to complete the board if it wasn't for this one. So if it's indispensable to complete it, I strongly advise to change it from the beginning so it doesn't end up delaying you. Completing 10 or more minigames successfully. This forces you to do them all perfectly in 2 long classes, or having to start a new one in order to do the ones you failed. Remember that to win these events, optimization of your time is key. Winning more than 1 duel in the club. The biggest problem with this is that you do not only depend on your ability, but also on luck, because the dynamic is similar to rock, paper and scissors. And therefore, if you play several times, it's equally possible to win them all or to lose them all, causing you to waste not only time but also coins that you may need later. Oh! And I almost forgot to say, if you win, you'll have to wait 7 hours in order to play again. Obtaining energy from more than 31 points of the castle. The recharging times of every object are different, and therefore it's complicated to achieve this task unless you have at least 15 unlocked. Obtaining 7 or more diamonds in a specific interaction. In order to do this, you need to play at least thrice, and this means having to wait up to 16 hours in order to play again. So unless you can punctually log in every time those hours pass, you'll start losing time that will affect your final score. But now, if the task is to earn full diamonds multiple times, this is regularly doable because you can combine all the possible interactions in order to do it. Doable depending on the circumstances. Earning points of a specific attribute. Regularly they will ask you to earn between 50 to 190 points of the attribute. So this will depend on whether the other squares of the board ask you to complete classes that increase this attribute, and on your luck with the prizes in minigames or feeding your creatures with maximized level. Spending coins. This will be possible or not depending on whether you have them. But if they are more than 800, I only advise you to do it if it's indispensable to complete the board. Otherwise, you better save your coins for future patterns. Unless, of course, this is the last one you'll have time to complete. Buying customizations. This will depend on the amount of coins and brown books that you have and the price of the articles in the store. If the only available ones cost more than 2000 coins, I do not advise you to buy them because you may need those coins later. If you do not have coins or books, I do not recommend you to use gems for this, because in that case you can use 5 to change the task, instead of using 25 or more to buy an article. Obtaining experience with creatures. Regularly the task will ask you to do this from once to thrice, so you being able will depend on the amount of animals you have in the reserve. You must take into account that you cannot use animals with maximized level for this, and that after interacting you'll have to wait for another 12 hours in order to do it again. So for example, if you only have one creature and you have to do this thrice, it will be wiser to change the task. If possible, always try to keep an animal without maximizing for future events like this. Waking up your pets. They'll ask you to do it from 5 to 13 times, and the recharging time in order to wake them again oscillates from 3 to 8 hours per pet. So you being able to finish this task soon will depend on the amount of pets you have. Winning Quidditch matches. This will depend on your ability to play. I personally find it possible because even if you fail a maneuver, you can still win by doing the other two right. However, if you have a very hard time playing Quidditch, it would be wiser to change it if you can. Obtaining points of all the attributes. Since they normally ask you to earn more than 200, this will depend on your capacity to complete long classes in order to earn 50 plus the ones you get from the minigames. You can also get some more points by feeding your creatures with maximized level, but I really do not recommend you to depend on this too much, because the prizes are random and same as you can get 40 points of an attribute, you could also get 5 or even something else. Winning one duel. Problem with this is that it costs coins, and when depending on randomness, it's equally possible to win or to lose. So I do not recommend you to try this more than twice, or you'll end your coins that you may need later. Unless, of course, it's the last board you'll be able to complete.
Step 4.
Now that we have our board ready and free of the undoable tasks that were getting on our way, it's time to get to work. But for this, we need to establish a priority order. Begin with the interactions. If you need to do them more than once, and therefore wait for the activity to be available again, the interactions have the longest waiting times in all the activities of the game, going from 10 hours to meal with a friend, 12 hours to play with a creature or have a date, or 16 to play gobstones or drink butterbeer. Go on with duels and Quidditch games. Once you finish playing, you'll have to wait for 7 hours for the activity to be available again. So once you're finished with all the interactions, it's a good idea to leave these activities ready to recharge as well. Go on with the short classes. If your energy is full, you'll be able to finish the class immediately without needing to look for energy points or wait for the energy to recharge. This way, if you have other things to do during the day, you can finish the class quickly and leave the energy recharging while you do your other activities. Go on with the medium and long classes. These ones you cannot finish at once because your energy will end before. But once it reaches 0, you can use this time to go get more energy from the replenishing points in the castle, and maybe even get one more star in the class. Posterior to this, you can do other stuff while you wait for the energy to refill. Important! Do not start a long class if you are not sure you'll be able to finish before the 8 hours pass. Otherwise, this will cost you a lot of time, and in many occasions the event will not even take them into account. If you still need some, earn the house and club points that you're missing by completing classes or buying clothes. If you want a more detailed guide on where to find points for each specific club, let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, get the coins, animal food and attribute points that you are missing. All of these you can get by finishing classes and completing minigames. But if you're out of energy and you're still missing some, you can feed your animals with maximized level, and the prizes will include more creature food, books, gems, coins, or attribute points. I do not recommend you at all to finish all your units in this, because besides it's not a guarantee that you'll get what you need, future boards could ask you to feed your creatures. If you still have to spend more coins, I recommend to do this by buying customizations of moderate price. But if this is not possible, then play Quidditch or have duels. Given the long time it takes for them to recharge, I do not recommend you to use interactions for this. And there we go! If you follow this suggested sequence in every board you get, you'll see how your time will begin to optimize.
Step 5.
Once you manage to unlock all the squares you need to complete the pattern, start clicking on each of them until the rest of the squares automatically start to rotate. Be very careful not to click on them if you have not completed all, Because if there are enough squares to form a pattern of a lower score, this will happen without you being able to do anything about it, and you'll lose all the progress you have made in order to complete the triple or the spell.
Stat sinks.
Once you get the next board, repeat the sequence until the event ends. Remember to prefer the simple or double pattern if there's less than 24 hours left, because in that little time it's very hard to complete a triple or a spell. There you go! Now you know the best order to approach the tasks of your board and get closer to the first place. But since Mrs. Midnight does not like to do only the indispensable, there are still 2 more parts of this guide for you to watch. Don't take long! I'll see you in the third part.